What began as a normal banking transaction quickly spiraled into a frightening ordeal for a man in Niger State after suspected armed robbers allegedly trailed him from a bank and robbed him of more than 10 million Nigerian nairas and his Toyota Camry in a daring attack. The incident, which has since sparked concern among residents and bank customers in the area, reportedly occurred shortly after the victim visited a commercial bank to withdraw a large amount of money. According to sources familiar with the development, the man had arrived at the bank earlier in the day to carry out what appeared to be a routine financial transaction. Witnesses said the banking hall was relatively busy at the time, with customers going about their usual activities, depositing money, making withdrawals, and conducting other financial services. Nothing appeared unusual at first, and the victim reportedly completed his transaction without incident. However, investigators now suspect that unknown individuals may have been monitoring activities around the bank premises. It is believed that the robbers might have identified the victim while he was inside the bank or immediately after he left the banking hall with a large sum of cash. After finishing his transaction, the man reportedly walked out of the bank carrying the money and proceeded to his vehicle, a Toyota Camry, which was parked nearby. At that moment, there were no visible signs that he was being followed or targeted. Like many customers who withdraw money from banks every day, the victim likely assumed he was safe as he drove away from the bank premises. Unfortunately, what he did not know was that suspected criminals may have already set their sights on him. Sources said the attackers allegedly began trailing the man shortly after he left the bank. Moving discreetly and keeping their distance, the suspects reportedly followed his vehicle as he navigated through the streets. The victim, unaware of the danger behind him, continued his journey. Everything seemed normal. Traffic flowed as usual and the streets were active with residents going about their daily routines. But the calm would soon be shattered. According to eyewitness accounts gathered later, the suspects eventually struck when they found the perfect moment to intercept their target. In a sudden and coordinated move, the attackers reportedly blocked the victim's vehicle, leaving him with little or no chance to escape. The confrontation happened quickly and caught many nearby residents by surprise. Witnesses described how the suspects approached the victim in a threatening manner, allegedly forcing him to comply with their demands. Within moments, the situation turned tense as the criminals reportedly seized the large sum of cash he had withdrawn from the bank. The victim, confronted by the attackers and fearing for his safety, was left with no option but to surrender the money. In addition to the 10 million Nigerian nairas, the suspects also allegedly took possession of his Toyota Camry, effectively stripping him of both the cash and his means of transportation. The entire operation reportedly unfolded within minutes. Residents in the area later recounted how the suspects moved with speed and confidence, suggesting that the attack may have been carefully planned. Before anyone could intervene or alert security authorities, the suspects had already fled the scene with the stolen money and the vehicle. The victim was left visibly shaken by the ordeal. Sources say he later raised the alarm, drawing the attention of nearby residents and passers-by who quickly gathered at the scene to understand what had happened. Many expressed shock that such a bold robbery could occur shortly after a bank transaction. For many residents, the incident served as a troubling reminder of a growing pattern of criminals targeting bank customers immediately after large withdrawals. Security experts have long warned that individuals who withdraw substantial amounts of cash can become targets for criminal gangs who monitor banking activities and trail unsuspecting victims. In this case, investigators are now working to determine whether the suspects acted alone or were part of a larger criminal network that specializes in tracking bank customers. There are also questions about whether the victim may have been unknowingly monitored inside the bank or whether the suspects were stationed outside the premises waiting for potential targets. While the full details of the robbery are still emerging, the incident has already generated anxiety among residents and bank customers in Niger State. Many people are now calling for stronger security presence around banking facilities as well as greater public awareness about the risks associated with carrying large sums of cash. As the community continues to react to the shocking event, one thing remains clear. What began as an ordinary trip to the bank quickly turned into a nightmare that the victim is unlikely to forget anytime soon. Following the shocking robbery that left a man dispossessed of more than 10 million Nigerian nairas and his Toyota Camry, security authorities in Niger State have launched an investigation aimed at tracking down the suspects and recovering the stolen property. The brazen nature of the attack has drawn significant attention from law enforcement agencies, with police sources confirming that efforts are underway to unravel the circumstances surrounding the incident and identify those responsible. Shortly after the robbery occurred, The victim reportedly alerted nearby residents and passers-by, many of whom gathered at the scene in disbelief. The incident quickly spread through the community, prompting concern among residents who feared that criminal gangs might be increasingly targeting bank customers. Local security operatives were subsequently informed about the attack, prompting an immediate response. According to preliminary information, officers began gathering details about the robbery, including the timeline of events and possible descriptions of the suspects involved. Investigators also reportedly spoke with witnesses who were present in the area when the robbery occurred, hoping that even the smallest piece of information could help lead to a breakthrough. Although the suspects managed to flee with the money and the victim's vehicle, authorities believe the investigation could benefit from several possible leads. One of the key aspects investigators are examining is how the robbers were able to identify and track the victim after he left the bank. There are growing suspicions that the criminals may have monitored the victim's activities either inside the bank or somewhere near the premises before following him. Police sources say they are working to determine whether the suspects acted independently or were part of a larger network of criminals who specialize in trailing bank customers after cash withdrawals. Such gangs, according to security experts, often operate with a clear division of roles. Some members remain around banking halls to identify potential targets, while others follow victims and carry out the robbery once the opportunity presents itself. Although investigators have not confirmed that this specific method was used in the Niger State incident, the possibility is among the angles currently being explored. As part of the investigation, authorities are also expected to examine the area where the robbery took place, looking for any potential clues that could assist in identifying the suspects. Witness statements, vehicle movements, and any other relevant details are being carefully reviewed. Law enforcement officials say that tracing the stolen Toyota Camry could play a crucial role in the case. Vehicles taken during robberies are sometimes abandoned after a short period or used temporarily by criminals attempting to evade detection. If the car is located, investigators believe it could provide important evidence that may lead them to the perpetrators. Meanwhile, the victim is said to be cooperating with authorities by providing information about the incident and the sequence of events that led to the robbery. Sources close to the investigation indicate that police are carefully documenting his account in order to reconstruct the events from the moment he entered the bank to the point where the suspects attacked him. Residents in the area have also begun sharing their concerns about security around banking facilities. Many community members say the incident has heightened fears that criminals may be monitoring customers who withdraw large sums of money. Some residents have urged authorities and financial institutions to strengthen security measures around banks to prevent similar crimes from occurring. Suggestions from members of the public include increased police patrols around banking areas, improved surveillance systems, and greater awareness campaigns advising customers on how to protect themselves when carrying large amounts of cash. Security experts often recommend that individuals avoid withdrawing very large sums of money alone when possible, and that alternative payment methods such as electronic transfers be considered when available. The robbery has also reignited discussions about the need for closer collaboration between banks, security agencies, and the public in preventing crimes of this nature. Some residents believe that improved coordination could help identify suspicious behavior around banking premises before criminals have the opportunity to act. For now, however, the focus remains on tracking down the suspects responsible for the robbery. Police authorities have appealed to members of the public to come forward with any useful information that may assist the investigation. Even minor observations, officials say, could prove valuable in helping detectives piece together the events that unfolded. As the search for the suspects continues, residents across the community are watching closely, hoping that the perpetrators will soon be identified and brought to justice. While the investigation is still in its early stages, law enforcement officials have assured the public that every effort is being made to uncover the truth behind the robbery and ensure that those responsible face the full weight of the law. Until then, the daring attack remains a stark reminder of the risks that can arise when criminals exploit routine activities such as bank visits, turning what should be an ordinary day into a traumatic experience for unsuspecting victims. As more details began to emerge about the daring robbery in Niger State, the incident painted a troubling picture of what investigators believe may have been a carefully coordinated operation carried out by suspected criminals who had likely been watching their target long before the attack took place. What appeared on the surface to be a sudden robbery now seems, according to sources familiar with the investigation, to have involved calculated planning and deliberate execution. After trailing the victim from the bank where he had withdrawn more than 10 million Nigerian nairas, The suspects reportedly waited patiently for the right moment to make their move. Investigators believe the attackers may have deliberately avoided striking near the bank itself to reduce the risk of attracting immediate attention from security personnel or passers-by. Instead, they allegedly continued to follow the man's Toyota Camry through the streets, maintaining a careful distance to avoid raising suspicion. Witnesses later said the suspects appeared to know exactly when and where to intercept the victim. At a particular point along the road, the attackers reportedly closed in. In what observers described as a swift and coordinated maneuver, the suspects allegedly blocked the victim's vehicle, forcing him to stop abruptly. The sudden obstruction left the man trapped with little or no opportunity to escape. Residents in the area said the confrontation happened so quickly that many people initially struggled to understand what was unfolding before their eyes. Within seconds, the suspects reportedly approached the vehicle and confronted the victim in an aggressive manner. Although details of the exact exchange remain unclear, witnesses said the suspects acted with an air of confidence and urgency, suggesting they were determined to complete their mission as quickly as possible. The victim, faced with the threatening presence of the attackers, reportedly had no choice but to comply with their demands. According to accounts gathered from the scene, the suspects allegedly ordered the man to surrender the money he had withdrawn from the bank. Fearing for his life and safety, the victim reportedly handed over the cash without resistance. But the robbery did not end there. In a move that further stunned those who later heard about the incident, the suspects also allegedly took control of the victim's Toyota Camry, effectively leaving him stranded. Witnesses said the entire operation was carried out with remarkable speed. Within just a few minutes, the attackers had seized the money and the vehicle and were already preparing to flee the area. Their swift actions left little time for anyone nearby to react or intervene. Some residents later recalled hearing raised voices and noticing unusual movements along the road, but by the time the situation became clear, the suspects had already begun their escape. According to eyewitnesses, the attackers quickly drove away in the stolen vehicle, disappearing from the scene before security operatives or local authorities could be alerted. The speed of the robbery has led many observers to believe that the suspects were highly familiar with the area and may have carefully planned their escape route in advance. Criminal experts say such tactics are commonly used in bank-related robberies, where perpetrators monitor customers withdrawing large sums of money and then trail them to less crowded locations before launching an attack. In some cases, these criminal groups reportedly work in teams, with certain members stationed near banking halls to identify potential targets while others follow the victims and carry out the robbery. Although investigators have not yet confirmed whether that was the case in this particular incident, the level of coordination displayed by the suspects has raised suspicions that more than one individual may have been involved. Meanwhile, the victim was left shaken and confused in the aftermath of the attack. After the suspects fled with the money in his car, he reportedly raised the alarm, drawing the attention of nearby residents and passers-by who rushed to the scene. Many of those who gathered expressed disbelief that such a bold robbery could occur in broad daylight. Some residents also voiced concern about the increasing reports of criminals targeting bank customers, warning that anyone carrying large sums of money could become vulnerable to similar attacks. A few witnesses said the suspects moved so quickly that it was difficult to get a clear look at their faces or identify the vehicle they used before taking the victim's car. This has complicated early efforts to track the criminals, although investigators remain hopeful that useful information may still emerge. Security analysts say the incident highlights the growing sophistication of criminal groups that specialize in trailing bank customers. These groups often rely on surveillance, coordination, and speed to carry out their operations while minimizing the chances of being caught. For the victim in this case, the robbery was more than just a financial loss. It was a frightening experience that unfolded in a matter of minutes but left lasting emotional shock. And for residents of the community, the incident has raised urgent questions about security, vigilance, and the need for stronger measures to protect bank customers from becoming targets of organized criminal activity. As investigators continue to piece together what happened, the precision with which the suspects carried out the robbery has become one of the most disturbing aspects of the entire incident.